Evan Turner was 9 years old and lived in a narrow, aging apartment on the east side of Toledo, Ohio. The building had cracked walls, flickering hallway lights, and a constant smell of damp carpet. Evan shared one small bedroom with his younger sister, Lily, while their mother slept on a fold-out couch in the living room. Every night, Evan followed the same routine. He brushed his teeth quickly, climbed into bed, and closed his eyes before his stomach started growling too loudly. Pretending to be sleepy was easier than admitting he was hungry again. Their mother, Rachel Turner, worked 2 part-time jobs, one at a grocery store during the day and another cleaning offices late at night. She did everything she could, but some weeks the money simply didn't stretch far enough. Rent came first. Electricity came second. Food was whatever was left. Evan understood this better than most kids his age. He watched his mother count dollar bills at the kitchen table, her shoulders slumped, lips moving silently as she did the math again and again, hoping the numbers would somehow change. Dinner was often small. Sometimes it was canned soup watered down so it could feed all 3 of them. Other nights it was peanut butter sandwiches with no jelly, or plain rice with a little salt. Evan always said he was full first. He'd push his plate toward Lily and smile, telling her he'd eaten a snack earlier. Lily, only 6, believed him every time. Rachel sometimes looked at him with suspicion, but she was too tired to argue, and Evan was very good at acting convincing. When nighttime came, hunger felt sharper. In the dark, with nothing to distract him, Evan's stomach twisted and burned. That was when he pretended to be sleepy. He'd yawn loudly, rub his eyes, and crawl into bed early. If he fell asleep fast enough, the pain dulled. If he didn't, he lay still, counting his breaths, imagining warm meals and full plates. He pictured pancakes dripping with syrup, burgers stacked high, and bowls of cereal filled to the top. These thoughts helped him forget the ache, at least for a little while. At school, Evan was quiet but polite. His teachers noticed he often stared out the window during lessons, his mind drifting far away. By late morning, his energy faded. Sometimes his hands shook slightly when he held his pencil. He always ate the free school lunch, never leaving a crumb behind. On days when there were leftovers, he asked if he could save them, for later, stuffing extra rolls or fruit into his backpack. He said it was in case he got hungry after soccer practice, even though he didn't play soccer. His teacher, Mrs. Caldwell, began to notice patterns. Evan never complained, but he flinched at loud noises and seemed exhausted most mornings. One day, during reading time, she saw his head slowly drop onto his desk. When she gently woke him, his cheeks flushed with embarrassment. He apologized over and over, saying he'd stayed up late reading. Mrs. Caldwell smiled, but her eyes were filled with concern. She had taught long enough to recognize when something wasn't quite right. At home, Evan tried to help as much as he could. He cleaned the apartment, folded laundry, and walked Lily to and from school when their mother was working. He never asked for toys or new clothes. When his sneakers wore thin and water seeped in during rain, he just avoided puddles. He told himself that things would get better someday. Maybe his mom would get a better job. Maybe they'd move to a nicer place. Until then, he believed pretending to be sleepy, pretending to be full, pretending everything was okay, was his job. One particularly cold night in November, the apartment was quieter than usual. The heat had been turned low to save money, and Evan curled under his thin blanket, shivering. Dinner that night had been nothing more than a slice of bread and a small apple. His stomach hurt worse than ever. He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to force sleep to come quickly. From the living room, he heard his mother cough softly, the sound heavy with exhaustion. Evan felt a lump form in his throat, but he stayed silent. The next day at school, Mrs. Caldwell asked Evan to stay after class. She knelt beside his desk and spoke gently, asking if everything was okay at home. Evan hesitated. He had promised himself never to cause trouble. But something in her voice made his chest tighten. He shrugged and said they were fine. She didn't push, but she handed him an extra granola bar, just in case. Evan thanked her quietly, slipping it into his pocket like it was something precious. That afternoon, Lily came home excited about a flyer in her backpack. It advertised a community food pantry opening every Thursday evening at a nearby church. Rachel stared at the paper for a long time. Her pride fought with her reality. Evan watched her carefully, hoping she'd say yes. Finally, She sighed and folded the flyer. "We'll see," she said. Evan nodded, pretending not to care, but inside, a small spark of hope flickered. Thursday came, and Rachel decided to go. Evan walked beside her, holding Lily's hand as they approached the church. The building was warm and bright, and volunteers greeted them with smiles. No one judged. No one asked embarrassing questions. They were given bags filled with canned goods, pasta, bread, and even fresh vegetables. Evan's eyes widened at the sight. His stomach growled loudly, and for once, he didn't feel ashamed of the sound. That night, Rachel cooked a real meal, spaghetti with sauce and a small salad. The smell filled the apartment, wrapping around them like comfort. Evan sat at the table, staring at his plate as if it might disappear. When Rachel told him to eat, he did, slowly at first, then faster, savoring every bite. His stomach still hurt, but this time it was from being full. He felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest, relief. As weeks passed, things didn't magically become perfect, but they improved. The pantry visits became routine. Mrs. Caldwell helped Rachel apply for additional assistance programs. Evan started sleeping better. He didn't need to pretend as much anymore. Some nights, hunger still returned, but it wasn't constant, and it wasn't overwhelming. Evan began to smile more, laugh louder, and raise his hand in class. His world didn't feel quite as heavy. Evan never forgot the nights he pretended to be sleepy to escape hunger. Those memories stayed with him, shaping his quiet strength and deep empathy. He learned early that survival sometimes meant silence, but healing came when someone noticed. In a small Ohio apartment, a boy discovered that pretending could protect him for a while, but hope, shared and supported, was what truly allowed him to rest.